Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you again. I have another Bible story to share with you today. If you've seen some of my other videos, you may remember that after Easter, Jesus' friends were hiding in an upstairs room in a house in Jerusalem. And one night, Jesus suddenly appeared in that room and told his friends he had a very big, very important job for them to do. He asked them to tell other people about him and how much God loved everyone. He was going back to heaven. This was going to be their job. And Jesus' friends couldn't figure out how they were supposed to do that when they were too scared to even leave the room. Well, this story happens more than 2 months after that night. It's from the 3rd and 4th chapters of the book of Acts in the New Testament. Peter and John, two of Jesus' best friends, are walking down a street in Jerusalem towards the temple. What are they doing out in the street? How come they're no longer hiding in that room? What has happened? Well, just as they get to a big gate that leads into the temple, they pass by a man being carried by some friends. This man couldn't walk, and his friends would bring him to the temple gate every day so he could beg for money. And that's exactly what happened. The man started shouting, "Can anybody give me some money? Money, please. Please give me some money." Peter and John stopped, and Peter said, "I don't have any money, but I'll give you what I do have. In the name of Jesus, walk." And Peter reached down, grabbed the man's hand, pulled him up to stand up, and suddenly the man's feet and ankles became strong. He stood up, and he started walking. He started following Peter and John into the temple, running and jumping and shouting, praising God. What on earth had happened? He was well. He could walk. He'd never been able to walk. Then everyone in the temple court started running towards Peter, John, and the man. They knew this man. He couldn't walk. He'd never been able to walk. And here he was, not just walking, he was jumping. What had happened? Peter started to explain. But there was so much noise, so many people pushing and shoving, trying to get closer to hear what Peter was saying, that the temple guards came rushing up along with some of the priests and other important people who were in the temple that day. And they were shocked to hear Peter explaining that Jesus was alive. Well, they had to stop this. They knew Jesus was dead. This was ridiculous. They had the guards arrest Peter and John and disperse the crowd. Since it was almost dark, the guards locked Peter and John up for the night. And next morning, at a big meeting with all the important priests and leaders in Jerusalem, they had the guards bring Peter and John before them and asked, "By what power? By whose name did you do this?" Peter immediately said, "I'll be happy to explain it to you. It was Jesus who's alive. He was raised to life again on Easter." And these people suddenly recognized these two guys, this Peter, this John. They're some of that crowd that used to follow around that man, Jesus. I thought we got rid of that guy. And they immediately demanded that Peter and John not talk to anyone about Jesus or teach anything about him to other people. But Peter and John said, "Do you think it's right that we listen to you and not listen to what God asks us to do, what Jesus asks us to do? We can't promise to stop sharing the good news about Jesus." Stunned, the authorities just repeated their demand for them not to talk to anyone about Jesus, and then they let them go. The whole city was talking about the man who'd been healed and praising God. So they thought maybe it'll just die down if we don't do anything. Now, when I read this story, I wonder if Peter and John were afraid for a little bit when they got arrested and spent that night in jail. I know I get afraid sometimes. Sometimes if I have a bad nightmare, a bad dream, I might wake up and feel upset. And then I think, I might say some Bible verses that I like, that I've memorized from the Bible. One is from Psalm 56. I think of the verse, When I'm afraid, I will trust in you, God. I'll even say it out loud. And another one I like is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, when the writer says, God told him, I, the Lord your God, am holding you by the right hand. I tell you, don't be afraid, for I will help you. I imagine that God is saying that to me right then, and then I calm down and I can go back to sleep. What do you do when you get afraid? Do you have a favorite Bible verse? I wonder if Peter and John, that night in jail, if they were remembering a favorite Bible verse. Or were they just telling each other stories of what they remembered that Jesus had said to them? And by the way, what had happened to Peter and John? Why weren't they still hiding in that upper room? What had happened that they were now brave enough that they were happy to tell anybody about Jesus? What happened to them? We're going to find out in a few weeks.